Hey, folks, welcome to InTheMoneyStocks.com's intraday analysis video, brought to you by the creators of proprietary price, pattern, and time methodology. Learn the PPT strategies and profit for life. My name is Gareth Soloway, Chief Market Strategist here at InTheMoneyStocks.com. Today's date, Wednesday, February 19th, 2014. Bottom line is, folks, markets are down on the day, but just slightly. The markets have been on a wild, I repeat, wild ride. We saw early in the day a gap down, a nice sizable gap down, a reversal to the upside. We went and tested, get this, folks, we tested the all-time highs on the SPY. We hit the all-time highs to the penny. I repeat, to the penny. At which point the market began to back off. We came into the Fed minutes here just a little while ago, but look at this sell-off here midday before those Fed minutes. Now you might say, well, what caused that sell-off? The IMF, basically the global funds, the global entities, came out and talked negatively about the global economy, saying that there were some serious risks out there. The market is also a little skittish about what's going on in Kiev. All right, and again, we all know, we've probably all seen the pictures in the media going on about the riots, the protests going on there. And obviously, you have the politicians, the government in Kiev being backed by Russia. That's kind of versus the U.S. and their interests versus with the Europeans and so forth. And again, it's not a huge deal, but it is a destabilizing force there, and there is a possibility of civil war. And obviously, just one more kind of negative there that could influence the overall markets and be an issue. So right now, again, you can see a bunch of little negatives coming out. Interestingly enough, the Fed minutes were not that negative, not that positive. I would rate them as a neutral. Basically, the Fed says the same thing the Fed always says, which is we're going to continue to taper unless economic reports become very, very weak. If there's a change in the global or in the U.S. projections of growth that we have, then we will obviously halt the tapering. But the Fed wants out. I mean, bottom line, the Fed wants to stop printing money. And I think that's ultimately what's going to happen here in the coming year. In fact, one Fed official was out today midday, which is also coinciding around the sell time of this market, and said that they think by the mid portions in the second half of 2015, interest rates will actually be raised. And you might say, well, why big deal? Well, that's huge because that means in order to raise interest rates, they would have to finish all of QE, cut it down to zero, and then actually raise it. So it's actually kind of a big deal, in fact, and should be monitored as such. Okay? So keep your eyes on that. Markets are beginning to head down. I actually think the markets are going to go to this 200 MA today. I do have a little bit of a negative projection on this market based on where we are. We're long overdue for a sell-off in this market, but we have to take out the lows of the day, then we can go to the 200. And again, nice little push up here on the markets as of now anyways, and we'll see again if it continues in the coming days, all right? Number one, first, as I just said, watch this low pivot right here. All right, that is your key level. That's your bogey. If you take that out, you're going to look for, you're essentially going to look for your 200 MA right here. Okay? And again, I can put in a little trend line right there, although we really don't need it. Okay? And then once we do that, if we take out that, then you're going to go to this next pivot right down here. All right, so again, watch the markets as we continue to see some selling. I'll zoom back in on the charts. And if we go to the daily chart of the SPY here, take a look. Look at what we hit today. And by the way, you have a potential, it's hard to call it a topping tail on the markets right here because you didn't make a new high, but it's pretty darn close. You came up exactly to the penny the level that this market was at back in January, I think on the 15th of January, and then you started to sell. And look at this nice long tail and potential reversal. All right, that is a big time negative here on the markets. Again, to see a tail and reversal like that, in my opinion, on the daily chart, it should spell off a sell-off down to the 20 and the 50 down here. So we'll continue to watch it. Right now, the markets are continuing to see some selling. SPY now down 50 cents. Let's flip back to the intraday. And again, I've just been slowly accumulating shorts. And look at this market heading down to the lows of the day, guys. Nicely heading down here. And again, if we take out this low of the day, you're going to go right to this 200 MA. Right to that 200 there, and should be a thing of beauty right there. So keep an eye on that. VXX, and this is something I talked to my members about earlier today, and I gave them basically a perfect heads up on the selling in this market. I said to them, listen, markets are at the all-time highs. We're basically on the SPY at those recent highs from January 15th, and that was right over here. Okay, at 184.95 to be exact on the SPY. And what I said to them is, what I'm noticing here is that the VIX, the VXX, and the VIX, which is the S&P Volatility Index, they're both positive and up pretty decently. So with the market positive and the VIX positive, there's some sort of disparity. There's a divergence there. And ultimately, here we are. Markets are coming down sharply because the VIX was alerting us early in the day. And we talked about this. I gave it to my members in the intraday stock chat. And sure enough, profits are following. So basically what else I'm seeing here on the charts, just continuing to monitor the markets, and spiders again right around just off the lows of the day by a little bit. We're right now 20 cents to be exact off those lows, and we'll see if we take those lows out. But again, a very, very, I repeat, very nice sell-off in the markets right now. What else we want to discuss here as I scan through the charts? Let me just bring up right now the S&P 500 continues to be down about 5 points, Dow down 30 points. Nasdaq's taking the brunt of the fall today, which was a leading index over the last couple days. But right now we're seeing the Nasdaq down about 20 points. Market's getting a little bit of a bounce, but really, again, if you're going to see more selling, you have to take out the lows of the day. Once you take the lows of the day out, then you should see pile-on selling coming through to the 200 MA. Now they're trying to bounce it back up. They're trying to support this market, and again, we'll just continue to watch this market and see how it all plays out. Really, I mean, that's all we can do. All right. A couple other stocks out there that we want to pay attention to. I gave out Apple as a shorting level yesterday to everyone. All right, I talked about this really in the previous couple days, and I told them on the daily chart of Apple to short it as a swing trade if it got to the gap fill from earnings, which was right here. Okay? And again, you could see perfectly yesterday. Let me just get that as perfectly lined up as I can. There we go. That was your gap fill before earnings on the daily chart, and this is the gap down that occurred. And then look at what happened. You rallied all the way back. Now, you might say, well, how do you know? Well, first of all, it's gap fill, so that's a no-brainer right there. And by the way, Apple's down $8 today on the day after pulling back off that level yesterday. But what you have to remember is that there were a bunch of buyers in the previous days into earnings that on that drop were out of the money huge. Well, as the market rallied up into that level, then all those buyers broke even. And when you break even after being down a long way, a lot of them will be sellers. They'll say, all right, I'm about to break even. I was in a horrible position here. I was losing money crazy, and I'm finally get at break even. I'm going to get out. And so they get out. And that's what creates the selling pressure to have a pullback. This is one of the classic plays that really every normal investor and semi-intelligent investor and trader would know. And I gave it to you guys. I taught it to you guys who are members here at InTheMoneyStocks.com. And just more profits to be had right there. So again, I can't stress that enough. You got to know what you're doing here, and there's easy money to be made in the market. So easy. All right, it really doesn't even take a caveman. I mean, the commercial says, even a caveman. Honestly, this doesn't even take a caveman. It's so simple to do. Just knowing that one play right there, you can make money hand over fist day in, day out. All right, let's flip back to the SPY because I do want to keep an eye on it, and we're still having a decent little bounce here. Let me flip back to the 10-minute chart. Yeah, still getting a little bit of a bounce here, but I'm curious to see if we see some more selling. And again, this low right here at around the 183.57 level is going to be the key level that you're looking to take out. If we take that out, then the markets are in probably a pretty poor position for the remainder of the day and the next day tomorrow as well. Okay? So we'll continue to follow that, and let's flip over to a couple other charts. Amazon's taking a beating today. A lot of the NASDAQ stocks are seeing a good fall. Amazon's down about $5. This is the intraday chart. If we go to the daily chart, it continues to be pounded down. You're heading for the 200. This is a bearish pattern, and this will go to the 200. There's little doubt in my mind, folks, that you will see the 200 MA on this, probably within days. All right, based on the charts out there, based on everything else, it does look to me like we will be seeing very soon the market's rolling over here. And that's why I've been accumulating shorts. All right, I've been accumulating shorts, and that's all I want to continue to do. And sure enough, it should start paying us off very handsomely here in the coming days as this market, again, retraces. Now, again, there's a chance that the markets could reverse and move up off of this move down today, but even upside would be limited. Even if we were to go flat on the day or slightly positive, it would be a very limited scenario for minimal upside. And eventually the market will correct itself back down and have a pullback. And I'm not necessarily going to the extent and saying, on the SPY daily chart, let's bring it up here again, that we're going to come back and take down these lows. I think eventually we will. But in the short term, what I'm really saying is that you just need a pullback off of such a dramatic up move. I mean, that's just common sense. Really common sense. There has to be just some sort of pullback, which you're getting a little bit of today, but even right into these moving averages on the daily would be one thing, and then we can reevaluate to see if it's going to go lower at that point in time. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's one of the key things there that we want to keep in mind. All right? Other than that, I think that's about it, folks. But again, some pretty wild action here. Let's just jump through a couple other stocks. We got JPM, nice pullback on JPM, down 84 cents. Another stock that was long overdue for a pullback after some pretty serious upside. IBM was green early in the day. It has pulled back, but is still green today. Looking at a couple other stocks, Chevron's having a nice day today, but that is off its highs as well. Was up over $2, now up $1.60 on the day. And again, this is the daily chart on Chevron. You can see what a hammering this stock has taken over the last month or so, since the beginning of the year, really. Look at that fall. And this is a classic bearish pattern, folks. I mean, I hate to break it to everyone, but that's just bearish 101 right there. So the charts are just too bearish for this market to at least not get a pullback, and so I'm in the camp for a pullback. Have a great day, guys. Come take the 7-day free trial here at InTheMoneyStocks.com. I will talk to you soon.